readers. Welcome to Books Connect Us from Penguin Random House. This is a podcast about staying connected with each other and the stories and authors who inspire us. Jose Pimienta was raised in Mexicali, Baja California, and now resides in Los Angeles, California, where he works on comics and storyboards for animation and film. Suncatcher is his debut novel as an author and illustrator. A story filled with music, passion, supernatural secrets, and family, Suncatcher brings to life a contemporary story of life in Mexicali with a supernatural twist and a lot of music. Now let's join senior editor Whitney Leopard in conversation with Jose Pimienta.
Hey Jose, how are you doing today?
How are you? I'm doing very well. How are you doing over there? How are you?
The weather is getting cool here in New York. How is everything happening in Los Angeles right now?
Oh, it's
on fire.
It's one of those things where like I want to say that fortunately I'm in a very fortunate place where like it's. I have my health and I'm in a safe area, but I also want to recognize that it's, that a lot of people are going through a lot. So so for some reason saying things are fine, it feels like underplaying what a lot of people are going through. So I don't even want to touch that.
Yeah.
But I am healthy. I am well. Yeah. So
and you're busy. You have so many things that you're working on.
I living the dream. They don't tell you that the dream is very busy, but yeah, I keep myself occupied for sure.
Well, I love it. Of course, I love it as I get to work with you on stuff that keeps you occupied. So for today, we're going to be talking about Suncatcher, which just came out this summer, a book that me and you both love, clearly. And so kind of just wanted to talk to you about the book. And for anyone who's listening in, do you think you could give a quick synopsis for what the book's about?
So Suncatcher is the story of Beatrice, who is a teenage musician, and she discovers that her grandfather's soul is trapped inside a guitar, and the only way to set him free is by playing the song that he never got to write. And this is also causing conflict between with the rest of her band. And the story takes place in early 2000s Mexicali, Mexico. And it's a book that I'm very proud of, and it's a dream come true to see it in publication. So,
yeah, I mean, it is a book you definitely should be proud of. I know that one of my favorite things about whenever looking at it and whenever I got a chance to read it was that you have such a unique display of use of color, such a unique way that you do storytelling, and you definitely take advantage of the graphic novel format. So I'd be curious about were there things that you had in consideration as you were putting this book together that made it this beautiful package that it is today?
With the format, I appreciate you saying that because it's one of the things where the storytelling format, I think that it's very conventional in the sense of it's panel to panel. I rarely do any kind of panels overlapping. I rarely do anything of that. Sometimes I'll break the panel border or something like that. And that's because to me, one of the most important things is clarity. So I try to keep things as clear as possible. And the easiest thing for me is also just to make sure that it's, I try to follow a very a very specific format of it's 3 tiers on a page. It's trying to keep in mind of the pacing. And I think that has worked out in the advantage of making sure that I can just play more with whatever the characters are performing or whatever it is that they need to convey. And with the coloring, this isn't a secret or anything, but I'm still very insecure in my coloring abilities, and I think that a lot of that stems because I used to think of coloring as painting, or or wanting to make it as rendery as possible, or wanted to make it as realistic as possible. And that end, there's a lot of amazing artists that can do that very well, and they are masters at it. And but eventually I realized that it was causing me a hinging. So what I decided to do instead is just to set a specific amount of parameters in which to keep my coloring options to a certain amount. And what I did is that I went on a Facebook forum. It's not an endorsement, but I went on a Facebook forum that it's for Mexicali artists, or like a caricature artist from Mexicali. And I asked the general question of like, if you had to represent Mexicali with a limited palette, like what colors would you choose? And almost unanimously, like I got a very specific set of answers. A lot of people were saying like yellows and oranges because it's desert, because it's hot, because and then a few other people made additional suggestions. Someone said like maybe a purple for like dark skies, or like maybe like those beautiful rose those rose sunsets that we have. And yeah, Mexicali has beautiful sunsets. Unfortunately, it's due to pollution. But so yeah, so I just very much went with that, and then just tried to keep it in that sense. And like I think it worked for the better. It also allowed me to play with color combinations. And to this point, like yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. I was just like, I find that very interesting because whenever whenever we went over the book together and we talked about like different scenes and stuff like that, I felt like your limited color palette actually really helped with the scenes, because you have this slow build up where like you have like these quiet moments, and then you have like the build up of whenever Beatrice's obsession with music and trying to play that perfect song kind of ends up like, building up more stress for her life, but then also for the reader who's sitting there going like, what's happening to this character? And so I thought you did a really good job of using those limited colors to kind of set the mood as the reader goes along with the story. So I think it's very interesting about like how you came across those colors.
Yeah, like it's what I ended up doing is that I made just like this very straightforward color chart, and it really is just like it looks like a color palette almost, like it's like very rudimentary, where it's just a yellow, darker yellow, and a browner yellow, and then there's an orange and a darker orange, and then there's a pink, and then there's other colors throughout the book that are more significant. It's on the cover, so this isn't a spoiler or anything, but like red is very specific to one element. Green pops in here and there, but only again to a very specific character, and so on and so forth. So I just and blue is like, it's meant to represent like a very specific thing throughout the book. But most of the book is just in this very specific palettes, and then it's just depending on how I'm arranging it. Like sometimes the characters have this colored hair, or like this color skin, or this color shirts, and so on. So
yeah, well, I think you did a great job with that, and I think that building on to like those character moments, it also helped build up like the different themes that you can kind of get across in the story. I know one thing that I took from the story was like the theme of like passion and personal health, and sometimes how like passion might come at the cost of personal health. So it's like passion versus obsession, which I am sure you're completely aware of as someone who is in like the art space, the creative space, also someone who knows many other creative people. Was that a goal going into the story, or were there like other themes that you wanted to focus on whenever you decided to make Suncatcher?
I think for anyone, this is something that we encounter in art school a lot, right? Where it's like it's almost, unfortunately, it is a myth that I'm glad to see that nowadays, and I see this a lot more online, where like I'm glad that it's a myth that is slowly but surely being dismantled, and I think that's very important. Of like, you don't have to suffer in order to create something meaningful and beautiful, and I'm sure that can get into like a bunch of other conversations with Suncatcher specifically. I think that was always I think that was always like a theme that I was trying to get at, and I was trying to figure out how to write that during the process of this book. Because again, like, I think that's one of those things that you just learn. Unfortunately, you learn with age, or and you shouldn't. But I think that the themes that I was more focused on was the importance of music, the significance of the emotional ties that music can bring amongst other people, the importance of coming to terms with something in your family, or something in your family history that it's sometimes difficult to either grapple with. And in this book, it's nothing like oddly severe or intense, but it is significant and important, like for this character and like what music means in that sense. And I think that I was also trying to get into like that that element of the importance or the binding that a passion can bring to a found family, but also with other family values to it. Because I mean, the book also talks a lot about the importance of being in a band, or the in parentheses, a unified close group of friends. You know, like, and it's in why that's important. Like, it's important to listen to each other. It's important to respect each other. It's important to listen what others bring to the table. And this is all peppered throughout the book. We don't have to get into the specifics. But I think that, like, when I first started going in, I had a vague idea of, like, I just want to talk about music. And then as I was writing it, I was starting to find these things that eventually became very prominent and very significant in the book. So. Yeah.
I mean, I love all that. I think another thing that really stood out to me with the book is that you're from Mexicali, and the book itself, I remember when I read it, it kind of felt like a love letter to Mexicali.
Yeah.
Which, as someone who's never been there, but like who knows you, is one of those things being like, I thought you did a great job showing this place, like this very specific place in the world, but it also resonates with me as a reader who has never been there, but like I feel like I got to go there in the story, but I also understood, the characters, the characters, just because it was set in Mexicali doesn't mean that this story couldn't have happened anywhere else. It just felt like kind of like your love letter to the city that you're from. And I don't know if that was intentional, but that's
absolutely. Absolutely, like that was very much intentional. And I mean, it's, without having to go too much into it, like it's that seems to be something that I'm kind of working my way into, is to talk about my hometown, because I love it so much, and especially now because of where we are in the world and where we are in this timeline. I miss my hometown. I miss my friends. I miss my family, in more ways than I can that we need to talk about in this podcast. But yeah, like it's and again, like it's gonna sound like, it kind of sounds like this is the plug-in, right? Of like, the book is about how much I love music and why I wanted to talk about that. Yeah, I definitely wanted to write about something that is very personal and that I feel very passionate about, and why Mexicali reflects that, and why I think that Mexicali is very much worth taking a look at, and why it deserves more attention. And again, like it's kind of difficult to have this conversation without having to point out, like, A, what's going on in the border right now, B, what's going on to a lot of people in border situations and in that topic. But also just whenever there's the conversation about the border or border towns or Mexico, like whenever I look at media, like I almost feel like they're not going to talk about Mexico. They're going to talk about these other great towns, these other places in Texas, these other places in the Baja, these other places in Arizona. Like, but I always feel like Mexicali is left out of the conversation. I'm like, oh, yeah, we're here too.
So this is your love letter to your hometown, but also just like a recognition into like
I mean,
cool
of course, of course, because like I mean, and that's like one of those things of like, if I could have made the book longer, I would have gone more into talking about Mexicali. But as you know,
a 400-page graphic novel just with
it's like it's if just illustrating landmarks and illustrating characters would be just like, again, we don't need to go into about this podcast, but like it's we've talked about this for a while.
That's amazing. Well, so for anyone who's listening in, who's going to be picking up Suncatcher for the first time, what should they expect before they dive into the book?
They should expect a very determined look at a depiction of music and the emotion that music evokes. I think that I'm just gonna toot a horn here. I think I did a really good job at visualizing what music can look like. I think that you can go in expecting I mean, I don't know if this is a stereotype or if this is like a cliche or anything, but like a very youthful look at the evocative call of music. I think that they should expect a very personal story. I think that they should. I think that they would expect like it's like it's fun. It's fun. It's a fun. It's fun. It's fun. It's a fun book. It is
a fun book, and anyone who picks it up, they're gonna absolutely love it. It's I personally think it's one of my favorite YA books of the year. So
oh, thank you.
I mean, I might be a little biased. Let's all be.
It's. I mean, your fingerprints are very marked in this book. Like in case anyone listening doesn't know, like Whitney did an amazing job in editing this book. It's just like it's. Gosh, yeah.
But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about Suncatcher.
I mean, we could, like, because it's which and we should.
Well, as we go into we're hopefully everyone who's listening in feels enticed and wants to pick up Suncatcher. Are there any other books that you would recommend to people who are listening in now? Who are just books that you just genuinely love and think it's something people should pick up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people that is constantly changing the title of their favorite book depending on what I'm reading. Up until a while ago, I would love everyone to pick up a copy of Kiss Number 8. Like that is still like one of those books that just, oh my gosh, like it gave me so many smiles and so many tears, and like it's just one of the most important books out there.
Yes.
For everybody, like YA and adults, like everyone should take a look at that book. It's magnificent. I just finished reading a bit ago The Heart of Tomorrow, which is oh my gosh, like it's both amazing and I think the word terrifying fits it very well, but it's not a scary book. It's like it's also just very sweet and amazing. I just finished reading the most recent this is a book from Iron Circus titled The Harrowing of Hell. It's also it's beautifully illustrated and it's a very wonderful take on that scripture. I'm kind of going all over the place right now. I'm currently reading A Map to the Sun. It's so good. It's so good. It's if you haven't checked it out yet, you definitely.
I haven't yet, but it's definitely on my list of books to check out.
Yeah, it hasn't come out yet, but can I throw in other plugins for books that are coming out? Like it's The Magic Fish, like The Magic Fish. Everyone should also check out that book. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's a wonderful story, and like it's. I mean, Which Light Brought Me to Tears. I know that these are books that you recognize, and like it's and again, like I don't want Which Light Brought Me to Tears. It's also an amazing book. Gosh, there's some. Look, comics are literature. Pick up as many as you can. Read as much as you can. There's a lot of amazing books out there.
Jose, thank you so much for joining us today and for talking about Suncatcher, which is a truly amazing book. And, thank you for putting your heart and your soul and your talent into this book. And I hope everyone who's listening in gets to pick up a copy and enjoy it as much as I have.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to Books Connect Us. For more great book recommendations and information about your favorite authors, feel free to follow Penguin Random House on social media or visit penguinrandomhouse.com. And if you've enjoyed what you've heard, go ahead and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, as it helps more listeners to find our show. This podcast is produced by Pat Stango and edited by Clayton Gumbert. I've been Erin Leaf, and until next time, this has been Books Connect Us.